This is Charlie Parsons for the Stomping Ground, powered by Wow Hydrate and available on DAZN. I've got man like G-Man. We have been nattering it off camera already. It's a pleasure. The weather's good. You're sat in the car. You've made a little bit of time. You're paddleboarding today. How are we, brother?
I'm good. I've had my bike ride hour and a half. Did a little stopped at a cafe. Did a little bit of admin. Chased some money I was owed. Just had a natter with you. The paddleboard's about to be blown up. I'm about to go on the river here through the colleges in Cambridge. It's lovely to see you. It's been too long. By my estimation, it's been a couple of months. That means you're probably nearly 22 now.
I
Haven't
am
seen you at the
22.
fight events. There you go. Haven't seen you at the fight events, but I know you're always busy. Great to be on with you.
My brother. Let's go straight into it. The boxing world, a little bit quieter, as it usually is in August, which we don't mind. A little bit of break through the summer. Immediately, the talking point that everyone was kind of hitting us with, I caught up with Eddie a couple of days ago. It was Australia morning, sorry, evening Australia, UK morning. And he said that they were still in negotiations to do Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul. 5 hours later, Netflix Turkey, somewhat by mistake, end up announcing Tank versus Jake Paul. They're calling it a mixed exhibition. I mean, Gareth, what do you make of it, mate?
Well, it is an elf against a giant, isn't it? It's David versus Goliath, and it's from the frying pan into the fire. I didn't like Jake Paul against Anthony Joshua. I spoke to Eddie and Frank Smith and Hearn out in Riyadh at Moses Itauma, Dillian White, and I couldn't believe the veracity with which they were delivering to me, person to person, not on camera, off camera, that yeah, it was a goer, and that AJ could earn up to 100 million US dollars for that fight, which I believed. I didn't like the fight, and then suddenly, like you say, out of the blue, sprung from nowhere, from the frying pan and into the fire, we got a guy who's a lightweight, 5 stone lighter, 7 divisions below, 8 inches shorter in reach, fighting Jake Paul. So we got a brilliant little un against a bang average big un. So, and it's on November the 14th. It's like, it's not announced for some time in 2026. It's on. So I don't think I'm at it unless someone wants to watch this and fly me out there. I'm not really bothered to be at it.
It's
I
Eubank
think
Ben
it
week.
will. It's Eubank Ben week. That's why I'm not there. I'll be working that. I will be working that. That's a big rematch. In fact, I'm speaking to hopefully speaking to young Eubank this week. Yeah, it's a weird one. I someone was laughing about an interview I gave trying to kind of describe how the fight would go between Jake Paul and Tank Davis Charlie, and I think I see him going for the body because I mean he's going to come up to his navel, so he's going to have to do the body shots. A bit like me versus you. You'd have to attack me with the leaping left hook to my body because I'll be towering over you. I don't think I would actually, but there's a huge height, weight, reach discrepancy in this fight, and I still got Tank the winner.
If I'm honest, right, I'm gonna tell you my thought process and then I want to hear your thought process. I didn't really like AJ against Jake Paul, but I kind of thought at the end of AJ's career, who can really tell him what to do in the world that we're in boxing wise right now. So in that aspect, I didn't hate it. The weight as like, don't get me wrong, it wasn't right, but like the weight discrepancy would have been fairer. At least you've got two bigger guys, albeit like AJ would have absolutely had a field day. When I see Tank take this fight at 30, 31 years of age, his career's been, let's put it honestly as well, a little bit disappointing over the last 12 to 18 months. When you look at some of the names that he could be in big fights with, and a conversation we have is before we spoke on camera was a little bit about this new rise that we'll start to see with American boxing and everything. I sit here and I think, well, he could be a big piece of that. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
in the prime of his life, he then goes and fights Jake Paul. I know money talks, but it's not the same as AJ. AJ's been there, he's done it, and don't get me wrong, Tank has as well, but there's a lot out there for him still.
No, it's the same thing though. It's cashing in when there's an availability to do it. And you can't blame him for that. But like you say, if they're really serious about rescuing boxing in America, and it's not on in the bars there, They need the Tank, the Shakur, the Tio, the Devin, the Ryan, the Keyshawn, the Boots, the Virgil, the Terrence, all on the same page, all fighting in a tournament style thing where all are fighting each other. Shakur's probably a little bit too small for Terrence, and maybe even Tank is for Terrence. But the what they need is all those guys on board, all working together like we got in the UK around the heavyweights with UK, Europe, and Saudi. With Deontay Wilder suddenly being one of Eddie Hearn's, he was one of Eddie Hearn's matchroom boxers, wasn't he? When they hated each other for years, and it was Shirley Winkle, and all those things from Eddie Hearn, which he regrets now, I think. But the I don't disagree with you. The point is well made, but he can go and have a fight with Jake Paul. What it does do, if he earns 30 million from it, it lessens his desire and his hunger back in the real game. I think it's exactly the same for AJ, because I want AJ to fight Tyson Fury. Because if we do get that fight they were teasing last week between Francis Ngannou and Deontay Wilder, which is not a bad call,
Quite
it
a good
would
little
just be.
fight, that.
It is, but the irony and the tragedy is that Ngannou will have fought Wilder, Fury, and Joshua in this era, but Wilder and Joshua and Fury and Joshua will not have fought each other. And there's something wrong there in that formula.
That's kind of where I sit and look at boxing sometimes and scratch my head though, Gareth. Like my friends will ask me, and all my friends are big, big MMA fans, and I think, don't get me wrong, it's definitely changed over the last year or so. We've started to see fights made with Turki Al-Sheikh coming in and that. But
Yeah.
my friends sit there and they go, well, why hasn't this fight happened? And you can give them the obvious answer about financials and that, but they'll never understand it. And I think that will detriment the sport at times.
Yeah, but it's always been that way. It's a very um cash rich top of the pyramid in boxing, and when people say, "Oh, how come Dillian White earned 2 million for 1 minute 59 seconds against Moses Itauma?" No, he's earned that 2 million from 15 years in the ring. That's why his resonance, his presence, what he can bring, how he's promotable, all those different things. No one's just rolling up and getting 20 million. No one gets 20 million in the beginning to fight. Moses Itauma, after 13, 15, 17 fights, may have 30, 40 million in the bank. But he's been doing this since he was 8, but doing it with the heavyweight since he was 15. He's projected himself. He's a generational star. Only very, very few people get to do that. Terence Crawford and Saul Canelo Alvarez have a long resume of success. That's why they're picking up the big bucks for this event in Las Vegas on September the 13th. You don't go in and earn tons of money. Crocker and Donovan, that's taking place on the same night in Windsor Park in Belfast, they earned it from the controversy of the first fight, the disappointment for Donovan and the hard night for Crocker. There's a belt on the line now, world title, isn't it? So people are things. There's an irregularity that's about boxing. It's not a scheduled season. People have to capitalize on opportunities. It's why it's a cutthroat, shark-infested business. It's why we call it the Wild West. It always has been, and it always will be, Char.
Let's talk a little bit about the fall through of the AJ fight then. Just to your understanding, Gareth, on the ground, we're hearing it's because of broadcaster problems. We know that Jake Paul's big super fights tend to now be on Netflix. AJ's got an exclusive deal with DAZN. Is that the same as what you're hearing?
Yeah, that's exactly what I heard. Actually, moments after speaking to Eddie Hearn, I spoke to some DAZN executives and said, "Are you gonna buy this?" And they said to me, "Well, not if it's not on Netflix, because Joshua's got an exclusive deal with DAZN. We won't release him." So yeah, that is the reasoning. I don't believe the armchair experts know. I do think, speaking to people behind the scenes, there's a lot of people. I mean, what I mean is, I don't believe that the armchair experts should have their conspiratorial theories believed, is what I actually mean, because I think AJ and the Hearns were moving forward with this fight for AJ with Jake Paul, but it did come down to DAZN not allowing him to be released because they want him in proper fights. and they want him on DAZN. They don't want him on Netflix. And Jake Paul is going the way of Netflix, and that's why he's at the final twist. He's gone with Gervonta Davis.
Let's talk a little bit about Crawford, Canelo, Canelo, Crawford. You mentioned it there. Great fight, super fight. Canelo continues to just do what he's doing, and Terence as well. The last couple of years, we've really seen him turn into that superstar as a person, as away from being, just incredible in the ring. When I look at the fight, Gareth, don't get me wrong, Madrimov a decent opponent at 154, but not the easiest night's work. Very busy at the start of the camp. Obviously, had that press tour, then took that trip to Turkey. Um, I just think Canelo will just be too big. How do you see it?
Well, I began with Crawford. I was at the Riyadh press conference, and I was out there in Turkey with them as well. With Crawford, I was with Crawford at that point. In terms of him winning the fight, just being able to maneuver and just slide out of danger against Canelo loading up. I went to Canelo then, and I flew back in my pick to Crawford. At the weekend on TalkSport, I went Crawford. As I sit here now, 2 days later, I'm I've gone with Canelo again now, and I think I may swing back again and change my mind again when I'm in Vegas in fight week. If Crawford's really successful early in the fight, I think he can frustrate Canelo. I think Canelo has slowed. I think he'll be loading up with his punches. I think if Crawford sees them and he sees the timing, I think he's capable of doing it. We really don't know what's going to happen in this contest. It's a great fight. Sometimes when I think about the first time I saw Terence Crawford, and he's at lightweight fighting Ricky Burns in Scotland, and I'm thinking, he's gone from lightweight to super middleweight here, and I know it's over a period of 10 years, and he's looked better and more brilliant,
A big
and
gap, though.
more, and there's a huge gap. There's a huge gap, and he's also not that active. But Madrimov's a very difficult opponent, by the way, in my view. A very strong fighter. And
Do you?
Terence has got.
I agree until, sorry to interrupt, but then I suppose you kind of look at the Virgil Ortiz performance a little bit as well, though, and then I hate to kind of, after Crawford beat Madrimov, everyone was like, no, that's a really good performance against a tricky, very, very good fighter. And it's not to say that he isn't, but I also kind of think a little bit that's maybe showed some flaws in hindsight as well.
No, I don't think so. I think what happens with my view is with Crawford, Crawford gets in there and he's so clever at boxing. He does enough to win. It's what Mayweather used to do. He does enough to win. He knows he's winning the fight. Now, this is his moment to prove his greatness against Canelo. This is Canelo's fight to lose. It's Crawford's fight to win. This is the crowning moment for Crawford, not Canelo. That's where Canelo's absolutely right here. Yes, his legacy's dented if Crawford beats him on points in this fight. It's dented horribly if Crawford knocks him out, which I don't think he will. But I need to have a close look at them in fight week. This is very much about Crawford creating his legacy in this fight. This is the biggest moment he will ever have in his career, in my view. Canelo had it when he went up to light heavyweight against Bivol. We know how good Bivol was now and is now. And in some senses, Canelo reached his ceiling at light heavyweight. We know he's not a light heavyweight. He's 5'8". He's naturally between 160, 170 pounds. So for me, this is the moment when Crawford has to step up, where Canelo has to rebut this guy who's coming up weight divisions. And Canelo's treated him like the upstart coming up in the weight divisions. Who have you fought, man, who's elite? He's right. He's right. Errol Spence was affected by his injury. He hasn't fought elite fighters. He fought Kell Brook and Amir Khan when they were way past their best. I'm not saying Crawford isn't brilliant, which I think he is. but this is the moment for him to truly show himself.
Just lastly on this fight as a whole, I think people expect that if Crawford's to win, it's to completely outbox Canelo.
Yeah,
You
absolutely
almost
right.
half look at it and like I think there's an outboxing thing, but I almost think if you're Canelo and in the first 1, 2 rounds, you can almost walk through the punches and like they're not going to trouble him at 168. A little bit how I feel. What's your kind of? Do you think
Well,
Crawford
no,
can?
no, they're both very patient fighters. They don't start at a million miles an hour. These two guys, they're boxers. They're proper boxers, both of them. There'll be a feeling out process. It won't start at 100. This ain't going to be Hagler Hearns.
No,
They
of
will
course.
they will not start at 100 miles an hour. There'll be a feeling out process. Um, Crawford is a great timer of punches. Yeah, but both offensively and defensively. Um, if Crawford begins to time Canelo early on, hits him and moves it, there's nothing like timing. There's nothing like timing, and Crawford's got amazing timing. And but if Canelo gets on top early, I agree. It could be an early night's work for him. But I just feel Crawford's too good for that. So I think it'll be an amazing chess match. And I think there'll be periods when Crawford manages to frustrate Canelo. If it goes as I'm seeing it with the silhouettes moving, I think it's a fascinating duel, Charlie. I really do. Fascinating duel. And I hope we get a 12-round classic.
Wilder and Ngannou, we briefly touched on it. Who wins?
Ngannou.
Do you?
Yeah, easy, easy,
Is that just
easy
because
pick,
I know
easy
Wilder's
pick,
really not been great recently, but
easy pick. Ngannou,
does that
easy
then
pick.
spiral another little kind of boxing comeback for Ngannou, or is he just kind of in it for these big kind of
No,
monsters?
he's just, no, he's he just he loves his boxing. I have nothing more to add to that on Ngannou. He gets wild, and then he maybe has one more MMA fight.
We touched on Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn, but obviously it will announce now. To be honest, I was pleasantly surprised to see that the date was moved to November. I thought September with Eubank and the weight cut and everything was always just going to be a bit of an ask. Your thoughts?
Um, I think it would have been all right in September, but it's a good date this now, November the 14th. I like it. Tougher fight this time around for Ben, for Eubank rather. He thought he was going to stop Ben the first time. Um, he knows he's probably going to have 12 hard rounds. He's got very hard weight cuts, but I'm to the contest again. I think Ben's got more chance in the second fight. Although if Eubank wins the second time, he's got a massive couple of fights ahead of him if he wants them with Hamza Shiraz and Canelo Alvarez if Canelo beats Crawford.
Well, if Canelo beats Crawford, I would assume the fight that they make would be Canelo against Hamza Shiraz. Do you think realistic?
Well, if yeah,
I
maybe,
suppose it just
maybe
depends if
Hamza.
there's enough money in it for Canelo to take it, right?
I think if Eubank Ben hits the straps again and is another really big event, then I think and Eubank looks really good. Wouldn't surprise me to see Canelo fight Eubank.
What's exciting the G-man in life at the minute?
Um, what's exciting the G-men? Just a just a nice calm rhythm to things and a great year coming up with so many big events. And I'm deeply involved with Bare Knuckle at the moment, enjoying working with BKB and the executive team. Looking forward to Bristol, then Sunderland. I think Sunderland, Leeds. Lucas Brown's going to be fighting bare knuckle in Bristol. I'm looking
No
forward to seeing
way.
Lucas. Looking forward to Leeds on October the 18th with Paulie Malignaggi and Tyler Goodjohn fighting each other. I'm working on some things at Crypto Fight Night, which are really, really exciting. I'm just really enjoying the rhythm of the year, Charlie, and I'm enjoying the warm weather and not being too overstretched by everything. Very happy time in life. Um, I think boxing is great right now. I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do in America. I've never enjoyed my work as much as I'm enjoying it at the moment, and the travel that I have available to me. Very happy man. And when I'm able to cycle, paddleboard, and do work in the same day, I'm a happy bunny.
Gareth, we love to see it. Very quickly before I let you go, obviously there's been so much talk about Oleksandr Usyk and Moses Itauma. Ben Davison's come out. He spoke to Oscar the other day and said, "Hey, Moses Itauma's got something that Oleksandr Usyk has never seen before." It may well be true. I think Usyk's one of the greatest of all time. Fantastic. Doesn't need to prove anything.
Top seven heavyweight for me of all time.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. I
No,
just think I don't. I'm so as Brits, I think sometimes we rush fighters and miss gaps at time. Moses looks mustard. I'd just like to see him get some rounds first.
good.
Fair enough.
Yeah, absolutely. But if you're if you're good enough, you're old enough. But in boxing, the problem is, as you rightly say, and I've made this analogy before. Emma Raducanu can win the U.S. Open as a qualifier, aged 18. Luke Littler can win the World Championship at 17. Wayne Rooney can run on the pitch for England, age 17, but they can lose their next match, and it doesn't affect their entire career. With Moses, he can win a world title in the next two or three fights, but then if he loses one, that aura of invincibility does change, and it does radically affect the way promotionally he's viewed. So he does need a little bit of careful handling. I've got him in my top 10 of heavyweights right now. I think he's capable of beating everyone apart from Usyk and Fury, but I wouldn't put it past him to beat those two either. Um,
I'd like a
whether you
Philip
put them,
Hrgovic for Moses next.
yeah, but he won't because his eye's cut, so he's going to be out for a while. But Hrgovic, Jarrell Miller, Jared Anderson, Justice Hooney. Um, there's loads of great fights from. Yeah, he does need some rounds in the bank, but wouldn't be a surprise to me if he's a world champion by this time next year, or that again, if enough money's put up for Alexander Usyk to see Usyk in against a fellow southpaw, arguably in the last fight of his career, it may be worth it financially for Usyk, but it may not be worth it for him. Um, in legacy terms as he approached his 40th birthday. But I've called Moses the takeover for about 2 years now. You know, to him, I remember first meeting him in Mayfair. Were you at that lunch with Francis?
I was. G-Man, it says we've got less than a minute. I'm worried it's going to cut
Well,
you
in
off.
less than a minute. Take care, Char. Have a great day. I'm Garth on the river.